18th. And because we're doing this telephonically and via video, all the items tonight will be a roll call vote. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and call roll for participation in the meeting. Member Georgino?
Here.
Did you say yes?
Yes.
Okay, yes. Member Len?
Yes.
Member Espinoza?
Yes, here.
I am obviously present, but I understand that Member Nolenberg will not be with us tonight. And then how about student member Samuel Lau?
Yes.
Okay. So I have members Georgino, Lynn Espinoza, and myself, and then student member Samuel Lau all in attendance. So we'll go next to item number 3, just a brief announcement, which is pretty obvious. Today's meeting is being digitally recorded. And with that, we're going to move on to the pledge. And I'm going to mute and stand up for just a second while I do the pledge. And I hope you'll all join me just a minute. I'll leave mine open. Okay. Place your hand over your heart and begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we are now on to public comments, and I do have, I have 2 to read, and then I know Ellen Wafflin is also going to make a comment, but I guess I'll start with the ones I've gotten. Forgive me, they're on my phone, so I'm just going to read from that. Okay, the first one is from Sandy Kidd, and this is regarding the PARS retirement program. It says, I have worked for the school. I have worked for the school district for over 25 years. I have totally enjoyed my job throughout those years. I loved working with children. The last 15 years I have been at the high school teaching U.S. history and government. When I left school on March 13, I expected to return in 3 weeks. I was offered that great retirement package and had decided to turn it down because I didn't want to end a school year not seeing my students again. I told my family I still wanted to work and would teach another year or 2 more. I wanted the pleasure of ending the school year with all the celebrations that happen. I teach seniors only, and I felt I needed to have a normal year again with them. Since April 15, a lot of things have changed in our life with the coronavirus. There have been ups and downs, and nobody knows what the future holds for us. If I had to do it all over again, I would have taken the retirement package. You see, I am over 65 years old, and I am in the high risk category. I'm worried what school will be like in the fall. I'm asking you to consider a second round for the retirement package. Remember, by getting rid of more older teachers whose pay is higher, the district can hire young teachers at a much lower salary. This will also help the district save money. Thank you for taking the time to read this email. And then the other one is from parent Jeff Garner. Hold on just a second. Now I've lost it. Hold on. Bear with me. Why don't I'm going to ask Ellen if you'd like to go ahead and read your or speak your comment now while I'm looking for the other one. So Ellen, can you please go ahead?
Thank you. I encourage the school board to reopen the early retirement incentive program to district employees that are 55 years and older. Our world has changed dramatically in the past 2 months, and employees may want to reevaluate retiring as their health may benefit from staying at home. There's a large amount of stress that comes with the uncertainty of what the school day and the school year will bring. Along the way, I predict we will all have to be very flexible as changes will arise. We will have to be ready to step up and adapt to the new normal of providing a full day of instruction to students from a work-at-home environment while using a variety of technology. Opening the early retirement package allows for employees to not only reconsider retiring, but to receive an incentive to do so. For the past 2 years, I've worked alongside Carrie Smith, Kyla Yurtstead to keep a prepackaged or licensed or canned curriculum out of our district, because the more of this software that we purchase, the fewer the teachers we will need. Additionally, the three of us have dedicated our time to implement EdCode language of no more than 40 units can be taken outside of the district, and to adopt local language to allow 10 units per subject area. And I am encouraging the school board to not purchase software license to help preserve the future of our jobs. Since traditional school ended March 13th, the district has seen the amount of Google Classrooms created by teachers double from over 350 classrooms to 700. Google Classroom is a learning management system. 26 elementary teachers are using Seesaw, which is the elementary equivalent of an MLS. As you can see, an MLS is critical to teaching students in the future. We have relied on one another, our principals, our media clerks, the tech support, the help desk, to provide curriculum and instruction to students of this district. And we're doing it using 2 different learning management systems. But are these functional systems? Are they intuitive? Are they comprehensive? Prior to working at home, TC educators have used Google Classroom and have developed lesson plans for the entire year. And at the end of the year, what we do is we archive our classes. And then at the beginning of the next school year, we pull them up again. Some, but not many of us, have invested a lot of time doing this. And teachers that have Google Classrooms are not going to lose their lessons, but we will be able to incorporate them into an LMS that does more for them. Kyla and I have spent the past 5 days getting feedback from teachers, the majority of whom support the purchasing of an LMS. I have faith that a team of teachers can choose a learning management system that will invest in the future of not only our teachers, but also our students. An MLS will allow us to collaborate as we all work at home in isolation. We want a system with specific features, one that addresses the needs of special education students, a secure platform to live stream lessons with students, a professor view to monitor them during a test, a secure testing environment, a camera for students to record video and audio, a program that will help us to compile grades and align to our grading software. We want to monitor that students are actually doing assignments, a system that prepares students for college. We want a robust system that will deliver curriculum to students, because students will no longer be held harmless for their grades. Educators' main concern is the lack of support for technology and training that our district has provided in the past. I strongly believe that we will get the technology support, and the training will occur, and I will assist upon it, as our educators will be moving to instructing a full day, and we will not be held harmless either. We are willing as educators to attend paid training days in the summer. There is time to learn and grow together this summer. And my research this week has shown me that TC educators are prepared to do that, and the district will provide the necessary and needed support. I am asking you to allow TC educators to be proactive and not passive as the world around us is changing. It would be making an investment that would pay off for years. This is not the normal manner in which you prefer to make decisions. And it is clear that there is some frustration and agony on your part, but the future truly depends on us being able to educate our students and to do it well. Our superintendent and cabinet are hired to create and implement plans, to bring us tools, equipment, and resources, and to monitor how we use them. And when Kyla and I met with a representation of high school staff and had a discussion, they not only supported a decision to purchase an LMS, but 7 high school educators offered to become paid lead trainers. May I remind the board that on February 27th, Dr. Fricker was commended by you for her governance skills, her professionalism, and her financial oversight. And that on April 22nd, her contract was extended through June of 2023. Isn't it time that we all ask some thorough questions and we listen to recommendations, and then we hold our superintendent accountable, and then we respectfully step out of her way and let her lead us? Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ellen. And then I was able to locate the last one. Again, this is from a gentleman named Jeff Garner. It says, I hope you're weathering the current times well. I would like to weigh in a bit with my opinion on the learning management system from the point of view of a parent and as a business owner who has been doing research on LMS. As a parent, I will not be satisfied with Google Classroom if we are forced to stay with that next year. We have an 8th grader and a 5th grader. Our 8th grader has been using it much more than the 5th grader, and it has been a huge struggle. Every other parent we've spoken to about it has had the same experience. Our 5th graders' work isn't even being corrected. I understand that we are going with a complete or not complete rather than a grade, but Google Classroom seems much more limited and the way less structured than a real full-scale LMS would be. It has been difficult to track that what assignments are due and when they're due. You have to jump around in Gmail to GC, which means Google Classroom, and all the teachers are doing their own things. Some teachers use it better than others, but it's still limited. A full-scale LMS is much more organized. They have as much tracking as you want. This goes from attendance in classes to how much time the student spends viewing and completing the material, to what their test scores are and trends in their results. Regarding testing, with an LMS, you can have quizzes within the course material as well as final tests and exams, which can be made of random questions from question banks. The tests are also graded automatically, which means the teachers don't have to go through every student's exam to grade it. An entire curriculum of material can be made available on the LMS, so all the teachers are on the same page. I understand Mr. Smith not wanting to just throw money at something, but current times require fast action rather than taking a year or two to figure out if we want to do it. From everything that I've seen regarding COVID-19, social distancing is going to be with us for a long time, and in some manner, not acting on this would be irresponsible. With all that being said, I think the district should have had more clear information available to the board members, and I'm not sure why there was a vote to approve the funding prior to the board members receiving any information. Even a 1 or 2 page PowerPoint would have been good. You can share your computer screen with everyone in a Zoom meeting. And it's regards, Jeff Garner. So do I have anybody else who has something they want to say in public comment section right now? All right, not hearing any, we'll move on to written communications. Does anybody have any written communications they'd like to share tonight? Other than what we've already shared, okay?
We don't have any emails either, Matt.
Okay. Then we're going to move on to the discussion information portion of the agenda tonight. I neglected to mention I was not long before the meeting started tonight asked to go ahead and lead the meeting. That's why I'm not the president, but I'm leading the meeting tonight. So I'm doing that as a favor. So with that, we're moving on to the discussion information. Item 7, which is the instructional technology platform for 2020 and 2021. And with that, I guess I will turn it over to Hannah.
Me.
Oh, Kim, I'm sorry.
Okay, so Matt, first of all, I want to thank you and your leadership. I think through my tenure here, I've always, it's very important for the board and myself to lead in tandem. And so whatever we would be proposing, we always pose it in front of the board before we take action. And we always listen to feedback, and feedback is 100% always good. We need to be critical in terms of making a good decision and thoroughly analyzing what those decisions are and the components that go into it. And so I always welcome that, and I always appreciate it. And I'll tell you why. It always makes us better. It makes us think better. It makes us act better. It makes us research more, and it makes whatever product that we are going to produce that much better for our district. And being transparent and well vetting things is absolutely been my initiative since I've started. So I want to thank you for your leadership in the meeting. And I do welcome this opportunity. I think it is a better opportunity to present as much information as possible when we live in a world of unknowns. And I think that's the big hurdle we're all facing with. for me, it's not a lack of trust and it's not a lack of confidence. It's really, we have a short amount of time and the decisions that we make will have a long lasting impact. And so we should take those seriously and we should go into them uncovering every single rock possible in order to make those decisions and then full charge ahead by the time we open in August. I have 100% confidence and trust that the staff will be ready. We will be doing everything that we can behind the scenes to support them and make sure everything is in alignment in terms of our best foot forward in August, because we owe that to our students and we owe that to our families. So before I hand it over to Hannah, I just wanted to say thank you to the board. Thank you for this opportunity to just kind of round out more of that discussion and more conversation. And we are actively working every minute of every day in meetings with the union leadership. So I just want to thank Ellen and Kyla, Robin and Art, who have been on the phone with us all day today in various aspects of reopening schools. And their leadership and alongside of ours has been, you know, something that has just been a wonderful addition to our team. So I want to thank all of them too. So I appreciate their voices. And anyway, over to Hannah just to go through the agenda item, really the two options that we have in front of us when we open up school and, you know, the funding that would be asked to go along with that. With any contract or vendor or proposal that we would have, that would always come on an agenda item later on so that the board can see exactly how all of those dollars would be or are going to be spent. But we can give you an overview of how we think they would be spent tonight. So anyway, thank you very much. And I'll turn it over to Hannah.
Okay, good evening. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully, do it. Oh, I can't. Can someone let me?
Give me 1 second, and I apologize.
That's okay. I'm not sure I know how to do it, so we'll see how it goes. And
You should have full access now.
Okay, let's try.
Looks good.
All right. Okay. So I want to echo what Dr. Fricker said. I think that when the board meeting ended last week, there was frustration on my part. I cannot lie about that. And she said, don't take it personal. And I thought about that comment. And the truth is, I know it's not personal, but isn't everything we do personal, especially right now? And I think there's a lot of that going around. I think our teachers feel it. I know our students feel it. And I know our parents feel it. And so with that, I am so glad that we started where we started last week, because this week has been fruitful discussion with a lot of different people, with a lot of different views. And I think through that is how we really get to the better answers. So with that, I have some things to present and some clarification. It's not all the answers. It's not even close to all the answers. It's probably more, just adding more questions, but at least shows where the thinking is and where we think we're going. So first, I just wanted to say, and I don't know if you could say, it depends where your camera is, I guess, but this is a picture thankfully given to us by Jerry Jambazian. But this happened today as there was a makeup pickup sign, and I know our very own Donna was there. And when I saw this picture today, among everything that's going on and how difficult everything is, it just made me smile. It made me happy. One, happy to see my colleagues. Two, to see that we're doing everything we can for our kiddos. Look at her face. She's above all of it all. And I know many of us watched the Graduate Together this weekend. And that was really what it was about. It was about being courageous and understanding that things happen and we move on and we rise above it. And I think our class of 2020 is doing an excellent job. And hopefully they'll pull us all along with them, because it is hard. This hasn't been an easy time, and we certainly need to be together as we move forward. So I wanted to sort of just give a little bit of background and overview to sort of explain a few things, a few questions that came up, and just sort of round out, like Dr. Fricker said, this agenda report that was given last week. We've now fleshed it out better. There's still a large dollar amount attached. So I want to make sure we're really clear on the thinking behind all of that. First, there's the before COVID-19, which seems like many years ago. And during that before time, we were reviewing systems and shortfalls within our technology plan and what we needed. We knew that we needed to do much, much more professional development for our staff. We needed the voices of our staff. We had made the workings of a tech committee, and that came together slowly but surely. We moved along. We heard people's input. And I think, and I know before I even got here, I know there was money invested in building out that bandwidth, because I've heard that it used to be terrible. It used to be you'd log in and log back out, or you'd be frozen, or you get the wheel of, what they call it on a Mac, the wheel of death. And it was terrible. And I have to say, and I don't want to jinx it, but we really haven't had those issues since I've been here. And like I said, I've only been here not even a year yet. It feels like dog years, just with everything we've gone through. But that has gotten better. So there has been an investment. There has been work done. And we're not done. We're just getting started. We need to build a sustainable plan. Everybody knows that. This year started with that in mind. And then COVID-19 started to lurk. And I think I was one of the, I don't want to say front lines to take away from any of our healthcare workers, but I was one of the first people to start addressing it, because as people came in to enroll, and they were either coming from China, who at that first time had been heavily hit, we were having to implement certain protocols. And we had families talking, and I had families in my office starting probably late July, early February, all the way through the day we closed. And they just came in droves towards the end, just begging. I had one mom on the phone crying to me, begging for us to close school. And I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that I was so naive to understand what situation we were. And I understand many of us were. And I wish I would have known. I said things out of my mouth like,
Would you take his phone and throw it in the backyard?
The pandemic is, we don't have pandemics here. That's a silly thing to say. I didn't say it like that, but those are the thinking of like, this is the United States of America. We're going to get this together. We know how to protect our people. We have government institutions in place. We're going to take care of people. I'm waiting for public health. They're going to give me the right guidance. They never gave the guidance we needed. I'm going to be honest. That guidance never came. We as educators band together with other schools and other districts and decided this is the right thing to do with LACO's support and guidance. It was extremely difficult. And at that time, we all know how painful everything was. The idea that our students worked so hard to put on that play and to do everything that they had worked for. And some of those seniors, that this was it, this was their last play, and they were so excited, and to not be able to have that in a moment's notice, and to not know what the right thing to do is, and all of those issues were so difficult. And just like that, poof, this virus comes in, and besides causing so much illness and taking people's lives, it took away hope for a little bit. It took away all the hard work. I can tell you, you heard so much about March 16th, and it, was an active shooter type presentation training that we were going to do. And it, staff had given us feedback. Well, we did this before. Here were some of the issues. People are a little concerned. Mercedes and I worked so hard to build something that was going to be great, that would give everybody what they wanted. You're planning an event for 550 people. You have to, think about what it's like to have 30 people over at your house. It's so much work, and poof, that was gone. It was gone in an instant. And so those are the kinds of things that have happened. We have wasted so much time on building and planning for things, and just having it be wiped away. And we're left with COVID wants to stay. So we're going to have to get back to what we need to do with COVID around. So as we talk about those things, I think to just show everybody our mindset. Education during a pandemic, education has to happen. We can't stop it. COVID doesn't get to take that away from us also. So we have to figure out a way to do it. Clearly, our priority is keeping our students and staff safe and well. We'd have to do that through required PPE, through social distancing guidelines, testing, screening. All of those things have to be put in place. And we have plans for those. The PPE, as has been mentioned, that's a cost. That just things start to add up just because of this virus being present. And then as we look at our rigorous academic offerings, that's a priority. And I started to list these priorities: priority 1, priority 2, priority 3. Are they? Aren't they just all priorities? They all happen together. They all have to happen. Our students and families deserve. TCUSD is known for its rigorous academic offerings, the support of what we give our students as they leave our institutions and go off to college. We can't lose that, but we have to find a way to be able to do that, even among all of the difficulty that this pandemic brings. And that difficulty is uncertainty. What is right one day is not right the next day. Shoot, what's right in the morning is not right in the afternoon. It's just extremely difficult, as we all know. And then the support of our families. I'll tell you that I have received recently several emails from families being, I don't want to say critical, but more so being concerned. They want to help. They want to join in. They want to offer their input. They know a little bit about technology. They want to see us grow and be more than what we are right now. And I want to be able to support them. I have other parents saying, I'm not a teacher, please. I'm not a teacher. I need help. And that's our job. And that's what we want to be able to do. And so as we talk about those things, I wanted to bring up a few things as I go on through the rest of this. When we started this, the first idea was, okay, we're going to have to rotate students in and out. So that's going to mean, because you have to keep them 6 feet apart. If you measure in our classroom, we can maybe get 10, maybe 15, maybe in a good sized classroom, maybe 20 if we're really lucky. And we have to figure out how to do that without doubling our staff, without, I don't know, putting them in the parking lot. We have to figure out where we're going to put them and how we're going to do it. The other question is, how many of our families are ready to come back? How many are afraid? How many can provide a safe space at home if we can provide a distance learning program? So all of those things had to be juggled in looking at this. And that's how we came up with some of the ideas of using these licenses. Licenses are basically through a virtual academy company like Apex or Edgenuity, and they offer curriculum that has been designed by other teachers, not TCUSD teachers, by other teachers. And they're put together through an LMS. So by looking at licenses that are roughly about $200 per student, depends where you go and how many you get, but that's a pretty fair estimate. Multiply that by 5,600 students, multiply it by just 2,100 students as we look at secondary, whatever you come out with, it's a large number. And when we started talking about it, I said to Dr. Fricker, the only problem I see with that, it supports our teachers, it gives them a way to be able to teach in this environment and balancing who's present, who's away, and being able to do all of it. But we're basically paying a whole other load of teachers to do our work when we have more than qualified teachers that do great work. We want our work. We want our TCUSD offerings coming to our families. So as we started to estimate, we thought, okay, that's worst case scenario. So that's where the $600,000 starts. And then we started looking like, well, what if we built it in an LMS? And I'll share only my experience. I was an English teacher for many years at the high school level. I've taught all levels of English. I taught for 15, almost 16 years. And during that time, I would call myself moderately tech savvy. I wasn't afraid of it. I wasn't the best, but I could figure it out. And I designed my own website. I was so excited. My kids loved my website. My families loved the website. Then my district brought in Canvas many years ago when it was just starting out. They brought it in and they made it optional. And I was like, my website's better. I'm not using that. And I would go through this and I would talk to my students and talk to my families. I couldn't keep with the website. I had to go to the LMS because of what it offered my students and my families. So I have a bit of a bias because I used Canvas. I used that LMS. And I certainly wouldn't push my bias on anyone. I would just push what I know, what I understand, which is exactly what many of our teachers are doing. They know and understand Google Classroom. And I think that's awesome. I think that's exactly what we need. We have a chunk of teachers that don't feel comfortable with anything. And it's our job to make sure we're offering them every level of support because they're comfortable in their classroom teaching. They do a great job in person, but that might not be an option, or what that option looks like, I can't say for sure. So when we look at it, you have an LMS, so Google Classroom is free. Whether it stays free forever, we'll never know, but let's say it stays free. And we have all of our aspects of our G Suite, our Google Suite. And then an LMS such as Canvas, which is one of the more expensive ones. It has been adopted by every single community college in California. Many other higher institutions have been using it, especially like the public California colleges and universities. Most of them have used it, and many of the private colleges as well. And then you have K-12 You have districts like Irvine Unified using it. Bonita just adopted it. My old district, which is in Huntington Beach Union High School District, used it. So there are districts using it, and there are districts staying away from it or not moving there yet. And so it is, and there are districts using other things, Schoology, Moodle, and other things that we should definitely look at. They have lower costs, but a cost for something as premium as Canvas would be for us about $61,000. That's what we're looking at for all of our users. And all of our users are all of our students and all of our teachers. You pay for all users. Parents are free. So $61,000 is far from $600,000. And the reason we leave the amount the way it is because with that comes so many other options. If we go to something like Canvas, great, there's that expense. If we stay with Google Classroom or a combination thereof, everybody needs training. They need real life training and PD and other resources to integrate in other apps. We're looking at certain curricular adoptions for ELA where there is a tech component in there. And we need to invest in our people. We need our teachers to come in and build it, whatever we do. If it's Google Classroom, if it's an LMS, whatever combination, we need to pay our people because their time is worth it. And that's where this dollar amount sort of just, how it adds up. And we could piecemeal things and put them through one thing at a time, but we don't have time. And that's part of the issue as well. And we all know that, summer's coming and we have fewer board meetings. We have fewer meetings together. So we have to have some sort of plan so we know within which boundary we can work in. So when we talk about our priorities, safety, I hope many people have seen this. This was put out the other day from the CDC. It gives guidance to schools on how you can decide to reopen. And you answer the questions, and as soon as you answer no, you're not opening. So you have to fix that element so that you can be able to open. And so we look, and we're getting very close to being able to answer all of these, but there's still a lot of questions on what that's going to look like and how do we keep our staff and students safe. It's everybody. It's not just caring for kids, it's caring for our people and making sure that we can give everybody a safe environment where they don't have to, I guess we all have to worry at all times, but where we can keep the worrying down as slim as possible because we've done all of these precautions. And then we look at our rigorous accessible education. So from here, as I mentioned, we need lasting and ongoing professional development. That's the bulk of money, and that's what needs to be invested in our teachers. We start with being directed by a committee of our TCA selected teachers. So the process is we're be ready to fly a position tomorrow for the committee, and then the union members through our union leadership will vote and pick the members for the committee. And as soon as we can get that done, we can start looking at different vendors and looking at different options and start having those discussions and talking about what we need at the elementary level, at the intermediate level, and at the high school level. Those needs are very different for our teachers. As we look at as our parents and students, those are different also. So we have to look at our 3 stakeholder groups and make sure we're able to support all of them. Added resources through applications and programs, being able to integrate and making sure that we can buy, whatever apps. Right now, so many things are free, which is fantastic. We all know going into next year, things aren't going to be so free. So being able to purchase the apps that make sense, that everybody wants to use, that we can get good training on, being able to integrate them. You can integrate them into Google Classroom. You can integrate them into a learning management system. There's different ways to do it, but to make it more of a one-stop shop for our teachers as well, and saving time in their prepping and planning. And then instructional coaching, through, if we were to purchase an LMS like Canvas, they have a 24/7 vendor support. It's ranked really high. They give you a live person and they are able to help you. And it's not your tech person. They're able to help a teacher. If a teacher's up at 11 o'clock at night, because they are, and they're planning and trying to get something to work and it was working and now it's not working, they can get on the phone and call someone and they can get an answer and they can get help. Potential instructional technology coaches. This has been brought up. Can we afford to have TOSA positions? Is that we can use the $600,000 to cover this? Those are some of the things that we're talking about. I don't know exactly what we're going to do. We need this committee to direct and guide us. We need to all collaborate and come up with some ideas on how to do this. So as I just break down some key things, I was originally going to sort of steal my friend's canvas, and I asked her, can I take some screenshots? Can I show them? I don't think that we're there yet, because it's not about one specific vendor, one specific LMS. It's just really looking at, do we need to move forward with spending money on something that's more elaborate than Google Classroom? Google Classroom can be considered an LMS, but it's in a more simple form. It has great capabilities. We can make it do things, and they keep adding things. But a lot of those things are going to take people to build and people to do. In an LMS, we create and build curriculum, but the system of how it all works together is what we're paying for. It's built together. Key differences for teachers as we look at these. Classroom can require extra setups, where an LMS can offer more of one-click setups. So for example, when they go in to do an assignment, they can post an assignment, they go to click, they can click on something and all the tabs of the different integrations can come up. So for example, Edge Elastic, oh, I want to use Edge Elastic. Oh, YouTube, I'm going to click that. And they click it and it's embedded within that assignment. And as the student goes into the assignment, it's there and they don't leave the learning management system. So that's just one example. And again, we can integrate in Classroom, but we can do those things. Oftentimes, Classroom may direct you somewhere else, but you have to come back. We know how to do that. It's not the end of the world. It's just an example of something that makes it easier and it saves time for teachers. Certain programs such as turnitin.com, which I know is used at the high school. I'm guessing that our English teachers for sure, probably our social studies at Oak Intermediate would also like to use it. It's a great plagiarism detector that has a very good reputation. It has billions of essays that it compares it to. It's much stronger than just having to go into Google and just putting in phrases from a student's website, a student's paper, but it works. I mean, you can do that too, but turnitin.com has a system. You can grade within it against Common Core rubrics. And so we pay for that service already for the high school. We could extend that service to Oak and we could integrate it into like an LMS, where right now, if you turn it into turnitin.com, you're not going to turn it into Classroom. Or if you turn it into Classroom, you have to also turn it into turnitin.com. And those two will not integrate. They don't get along. So I don't know why. I know Google Classroom has developed its own plagiarism detector. My opinion would be that it's not as capable as turnitin.com. But I'm not an expert on it. Classroom is a little bit more linear, where an LMS is more built out. When you go into an LMS, you see your classes like you do in Google Classroom, but you also see calendar, to-do list, all these other elements, and you can just hit student view. So what I used to do a lot when I was trying to design something and I wanted to think like my student, okay, what's going to confuse them? I could go into student view, just click it, and I could see what my student sees. And so then I could go back and go, okay, let me change that. That doesn't make sense. I know in Google Classroom, you can log in as a student and do that. You can, but you have to log in as one of your students, or you can have a friend join your Google Classroom. I know husband and wives join each other's Google Classrooms and check it, or, they look and see, they tell you what it looks like. But it's just a much easier, more convenient feature, that student view. And then as we look at an LMS, again, specific to Canvas is what I know. It is not because I'm saying that Canvas is better, it's just what I know. They offer a common area that's called the Canvas Commons, and in there, teachers from all over who use Canvas, so this is all over the world. If you use Canvas, anyone can they can offer curriculum in that Canvas, and you can go shopping through it. The district can put filters on it, so if there's things we're concerned about for privacy and things like that, we can filter it. But the most part, you can go through and you can sort of shop what people have made public, and then you can share your curriculum. You don't have to, but it's an option. You can say, hey, I designed this course if you'd ever like to use it, and then you can go in. Some of my friends that teach chemistry found some on the Commons and went through and were able to find part of that module. It had virtual labs built in. They were using the same virtual lab integration. And so it just worked perfectly. And, they were really excited to be able to find it that way. So those are things that will save our teachers time. It's money too, to a degree, because oftentimes those things are things you might have to purchase. You can share in a Google Drive, you can share in Google Classroom. I completely understand, but it might be more limited to what we have. You can also export a course. So one thing they said, and this isn't really a selling feature because I don't want our teachers to leave, but for teachers, you could export a course and it's yours. Like, you can take it with you. You can link. I had a meeting with the Canvas rep today, and he sent me a link to his, and he can show me everything, and you can just link it out and you can let people review it and see what's in there. So it's a great option. And then teachers can review and monitor student access, activity, and assessments, and overall progress on coursework. It's very easy to see not only that a student logged in, but you can see how long they took on a quiz, how long they took on one problem, what kind of progress they're making on certain assignments. And it's all just right there. We're right now in Google Classroom, it's a little bit more difficult. There is an add-on that one of our teachers was awesome to create for everyone, and we were able to push that through, and it helps. And so we have something, but it's just not quite to the level that you can do in something like Canvas. So key differences for our students, I think they might be the most resilient in all of it. They're good with Google Classroom. I think that especially for our littles, it might be just exactly what they need, and to some degree. You can have a calendar of assignments though, where a student can go in and they can click. And so like, I think right now, many of our elementary teachers don't just have one Google Classroom. It's not like, this is my Google Classroom. They might have one for ELA. They might have one for different levels of math. They might have for different things. Is that your volume up? All of a sudden I'm echoing, sorry. So in that way, a student can go into their calendar in their LMS and they will see all of their teachers' assignments and everything on a calendar. And so they can see on Monday, I have these things due, or this is the agenda for Tuesday, or things like that. So they can see it in one place. And LMS also can have an interactive grade book. I know Google is also, they have a little bit of a feature of this, but they're building something. I have heard about that. That's something in beta form right now. But there's an interactive grade book that students can go in, and I believe they can do this in Aries also. My son was telling me he can do it in Aries, but they can go in and like say they have a big assessment coming up and they want to know, okay, what grade do I have to get on this to keep my A in the class? Teachers hate that. I know that, because we don't want kids just shooting for the bare minimum. But it's sort of a college skill. We all know, like, that's just something that you're looking to be able to manage and know what you need. So there's things like that. A grade book also from, I believe also the beta one that Google's working on will actually integrate directly into someone like Canvas. Canvas did share that with me today, that they're partnering with Google on this, and it'll be a great feature that will just be very interactive and goes right into Aries. And that's the same thing. You can use the gradebook in an LMS and have it go straight into our Aries gradebook as well. From what I understand, and again, I never used Google Classroom as a teacher, because by the time it had come out, we had already started with our LMS. But I know teachers have said right now they're going into their gradebook and they might have a grade in Google, and then they have to go into Aries and load in that grade. The discussion feature in an LMS can offer students a few more options. I know the discussion feature exists in Google as well, and some teachers actually like the discussion in Google better than something that's offered in Canvas, depending on the grade level. But something like Canvas or even Blackboard or Schoology, the discussion can be used where students can go in and post questions to their professor at any time, and then as the professor answers the question, or the teacher answers the question, all the students can see the answer. So, when you ask the question, other people were thinking it. And so you sort of solve that. And being in a distance situation, it's such a great feature. And it's something that students really rave about, being able to have that access. And it can happen. I know that it happens. You can have discussions in Google Classroom, but I think you have to be in that assignment. So it's not quite as transferable as it can be in an LMS. Quizzes and assessments are more secure than in Google. That's something that is definite. There's some issues with the Google form where students have been able to get certain codes, I think, and they're able to get a hold of answer keys. We've heard about things like that. Another element that happens, and I know I'm putting this on the student feature, key differences for students about them being more secure, but our students don't want to cheat. They don't like it when their peers cheat. They want their hard work to be recognized. And so I do think that's something that's important. The same thing, same feature with turning in assignments. There's ways to get around certain things in Google. And trust me, I'm sure there's ways to get around almost everything for students. They can also access curriculum without having to leave the LMS, which I had mentioned before. So if they click on an assignment or there's a video to watch in Google Classroom, it'll take you to YouTube, and then they have to come back to their Google Classroom. In an LMS, you can watch it right in there and stay within the LMS. And so lastly, as we look at some of our differences for parents, and I know as we heard in some of the public comments, the Google Classroom will offer reports, and we were trying to work on a batch upload from Aries into Google Classroom. We've had some difficulty with it, but many teachers have been able to get the parents signed up. You just give a code and they're able to get the reports, but those reports are often just telling them when, how things were turned in or when things were turned in. And I will tell you a story that happened to my husband, who's a teacher. He teaches seniors. And so this particular student had a mom that was watching and wanted to make sure everything was turned in. He had about 15 missing assignments. So he just turned those 15 assignments in. He turned in blank pages because mom could see that they were turned in. But then the teacher got to them and saw that they were blank and trying to figure out why would you turn it blank? That was what we found out. So it's just something in an LMS, a parent has more of a view. They can go in and observe exactly what their student is doing. Then a parent has when they're in Google Classroom, they often have to review. So if you have one student, even an elementary student, you could have several Google Classrooms for one student. Now you have 3 students. You can imagine the amount of work that you're doing to go back in and out of all the different classrooms. Where in an LMS, it's much easier, and it's just one clicking between your students and being able to see. So I have just a short video. Again, it is from Canvas, and I'm not advocating for Canvas. I'm advocating, I guess, for in the sense it's because it's what I know. And it has a great reputation. If you were to go into the App Store and look at its mobile app, it has, a 4.6, I think, 4.7 rating, where Schoology and some of these other ones have a very low rating. So there's just certain, it has a great reputation. So it's something I hope we at least look at, but it is one of the more pricey LMSs. So it's something we should look at as we bring our community together, what our needs are, how we want to grow, and what's offered. So this quick video will sort of just show you from the parent side of what it'll look like and what we can offer our parents.
Make that full screen.
Meet Amy Pandison.
I think because it's
Amy has
embedded,
2
I
kids,
can't.
Tucker and Jane. Tucker is in the 8th grade and loves world history. Jane
have to
is in
go
the
into
3rd grade and
YouTube.
enjoys science projects. Their school uses Canvas to facilitate student learning. Amy wants to be involved in her kids' education, not to do it for them, but to help them be successful and build confidence as learners. Amy wants to check their grades, view assignment due dates and the instructions, follow Amy and Tucker's calendars, and communicate easily with teachers. Amy hears about the Canvas parent app in an email from the school. Both kids' teachers use Canvas and want to make sure parents can easily stay connected. Amy searches for Canvas Parent in the App Store for her mobile device. After it downloads, Amy searches for her school district in the search bar. When she finds it, she then sees the option to sign in. Amy does not have her own Canvas account yet, so she selects Parents of a Canvas User, Create Account. She enters her name, her email address, and creates a password, but does not have a student pairing code. Tucker creates a pairing code from his account by opening his account settings from the global navigation bar. He selects Pair with Observer and gives that code to Amy. She can now see Tucker's classes and grades on the app's home screen. Jane is still in elementary school, so Amy gets her pairing code from Jane's teacher and easily adds it on the app. Now Jane is all set up with the Canvas Parent app as her sidekick in supporting her kids' education. To make sure she stays up to date on both kids' accounts, Jane sets up her alerts and notifications. On her phone or tablet, Amy selects Manage Students and then selects Tucker. She sets her preferences on when and about what she would like Canvas to alert her. She does the same for Jane. As Amy finishes choosing her notification settings, Jane comes bounding into the house without the coat she was wearing when she left for school. On the app, Amy opens her inbox, selects Jane's class, and sends a quick message to Jane's teacher about the missing coat. That night, before sitting down to dinner, Amy checks Tucker's classes and grades. He's doing pretty well. She also checks the calendar and notices that Tucker has a test coming up in a few days, and then helps Tucker organize his notes and create a study plan after dinner. She notices in her alert section an announcement about a field trip to the local museum for Tucker's world history class, and a request for volunteer parent chaperones. Amy sends a quick message through the Canvas inbox to volunteer as a chaperone. Amy glances at the calendar and notices that Jane has a science project coming up. She looks at the assignment and notices a list of supplies and instructions for how to submit the assignment. Amy sets a reminder to buy the supplies. That night, Jane sits at the computer with Amy and they make a plan for Jane's project. Later that week, Amy helps Jane finish the project and helps her submit before the due date. After a long week of extracurricular activities, Amy sees a notification on her Canvas parent app about a missing assignment in one of Tucker's classes. She reads the instructions posted on Canvas and asks Tucker how she can help him complete the assignment. That night, Amy sits with Tucker and helps him upload a picture to submit his assignment. Even though the assignment is still flagged as late and Tucker lost some points, it's still turned in for grading. Like Amy Pandison, you can also support your students' learning and know what's going on in their academic lives. You can download it for free in your app store. You can also log on to Canvas as an observer through your web browser. Also, check out the Canvas guides for observers in the Canvas community.
So as I wrap this up, I think the thing that I really want to make more clear than I made clear than last week is that this is an investment in our people. The technology, yes, but our technology has to go with our people, what they need, what they want, and it needs to be designed for our teachers, our students, our parents. They're our people. And so I think some of the questions that come up and that are scary are, why do it right now? Everything is such a mess. Why would you do something like this right now? And I guess the other part of me says, why wouldn't we do it right now? Everything is such a mess. So we need something that isn't a mess, that is something that comes together and brings everyone together. It is not easy. It will have learning curves. It requires training. We can look at different phases. We can roll it out for high school. I know that there's big support of it at the high school. We could pause on K through 8. I believe after it's rolled out with the high school, K through 8 is going to want it pretty quickly. And the concern there is that we now have two groups we're trying to manage. We're trying to support Google Classroom usage, bring that up to par, get everybody on the speed, be able to teach 6 hours through it one way or another, if we go to intermittent closure or whatever it looks like. And then we've got this other group over here with Canvas. So there's a lot of options. I think bringing our committee of teachers together is our very first step, and it's the most important step. I hope by doing this quickly and soon, we can then bring you some very specific answers at the next board meeting.
Great, thank you very much, Hannah. Are there comments or questions at this time for Hannah or anyone?
Yeah, it's Melissa.
Please.
So just to help me make sure I'm understanding the options. One is we could purchase licenses from, let's say, like Apex, which we use already.
Right.
And that cost is definitely going to be $600,000 for the number of users that we have. Is that right?
That'd be the worst case scenario if we did it as a secondary purchase.
Yeah, that's option one, right? If we do that, it's going to cost $600,000. But my understanding of that is it correct that if we spent that money, it's really just for that year? And then after that year is over, we're back at zero.
Right.
We've just spent $600,000 and have nothing to show for it for the following year.
Right.
So then we've got the other options, which are LMS versus Google. But is it okay? So LMS versus Google, and even with an LMS, you can have Google running alongside of it. Is that right?
I wouldn't say LMS versus Google. I don't want to leave that misconception to any teachers that have built so much with Google. They integrate into, you can even integrate your classroom into Canvas. There are people that keep a Google Classroom because there's certain features they like. And you can do that while you're migrating over, and you might end up using your classroom less eventually. You know, I don't know.
So then they run alongside each other. If we were to go with the LMS, they would kind of run alongside each other. Or other discussions have been around just continuing with Google and nothing more. And that, whether we go with, if we go with an LMS, it's not necessarily to purchase the tool. It's not necessarily 600,000. It's going to be less, and we will want to put more money towards the training and invest that. But it is something that if we invest now, we would have something to build on for the future. Absolutely. Is that right?
Absolutely. When we look at our local districts around us, their technology departments are often made up of several people, and some of them are instructional coaches. They are TOSAs, they are teachers. Right now, we don't have anyone in that role. So as we look at this, that's why we didn't change the dollar amount, because as we go to one option, yes, if we went to something like Canvas is more expensive than most of them, but even some of the ones that are free, there are learning management systems that are free, but you have to build them. So that's still, you have to pay people to build them. So one way or another, you're going to spend some money, but regardless of which option, you then need to be able to support it and grow it. And that's where, you know, paying our people to do that, perhaps having TOSAs. I don't know if that's something we want to do, but at least having the option, that's where that $600,000 probably could get used. And obviously our goal would be to come under it and not use it, but I don't know. We don't know yet what this is going to look like.
Okay. And whatever we build in an LMS is our intellectual property. Is that not right? That means we keep it, we can enhance it, we can build on it. And it's, again, it's something that can continue to grow over the years.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then in addition to that, right now, like we will purchase licenses this next year as separate from the 600,000. It's a normal cost that we spend with Apex. I think there's different numbers because we bought licenses at different times with Apex, but the independent study program will probably still rely on licenses. But as we build this LMS over 1, 2, maybe 3 years, we now have our own curriculum. So when students go to independent study, maybe we can save that expense there. Definitely with credit recovery, we can do that. So I teach English, but I don't want to do summer school, but my colleague's going to do summer school, but she teaches 10th grade normally. I have 9th grade curriculum. I can just export that curriculum. Here you go. You can teach that this year. And it's not just stuff. It's not just a Google Drive folder. It's actual, the activities, the lessons, and it's built out by all of those things. And another thing I forgot to mention, some information. Some of our students are doing a dual enrollment with PCC from the independent study program, and they've already experienced using Canvas. And so they have firsthand knowledge. And I think some of the comments that I saw that somebody was giving me some information about like what students actually think of it. Google Classroom is pretty easy to use for students. However, Canvas is sort of much more convenient and gives them a broader perspective of what they're getting from their professors.
Yeah, and just before, and I forgot to mention this, Matt, but just before logging into this call, I saw an email, I think it was forwarded from Ellen, of one of the students that is enrolled in independent study and doing PCC, and she gave some of the feedback that you all have given regarding the use of Google Classroom versus, you know, how Canvas works. And so I don't know if anybody needs to read that or if we need to go over that, but it did sound like, you know, it seemed as though it was more comprehensive and a better experience, user experience for the student. So that was helpful. The other thing that I think is on everybody's mind is around cost. So, and the money portion of it, right? So I heard you say something about potentially saving on curriculum that could, you know, could, you know, in essence, cover the cost or make up for the cost of this thing. So I don't know if you can comment on that.
Do you want to talk about that? Or, okay.
So in some cases, we can actually reduce the curriculum adoptions that we would have to normally purchase. And normally curriculum adoptions, we purchase every 8 to 10 years. Sometimes I realize in our district, we may not have purchased for a while, but with the state standards change, then we now know that we need to align our teaching, our curriculum to those state standards. One way to do that is purchasing curriculum adoptions. Adoptions are very expensive. You're normally going to spend between $500,000 to $600,000 per level. So if you're talking about the elementary level, it's about $500,000 to $600,000, and then you're talking about the secondary level, same thing, about $500,000 to $600,000. So you're talking well over $1 million for a whole scale ELA or math or science, social science adoption. In some cases, our teachers are very, very savvy, and they have aligned a lot of their curriculum to the standards already, just of their own accord or working with their small learning communities at their campuses. So if you build out these core units at elementary or core courses at the secondary level that are aligned to the standards and that are inclusive of, you know, a multivariable resources that come in to augment the curriculum, then you could limit the amount of curriculum adoptions you actually need to do in the future. So in some cases, you know, staffs have been developed. In some cases, districts have not gone through your typical curriculum adoption with a publisher, but the teachers have actually come together. They've invested in their staff. They've paid their staff to then align the curriculums with the curriculum with the standards that are new or the standards that have changed. So there could be a lot of potential saving down the road there as well. And then if, in fact, with your new staff coming on, it's really difficult for a brand new teacher to come into a situation and have to start from scratch and build their whole, their units and their lessons, you know, from scratch. And I know a lot of our staff give each other things. It's very nice if it's just housed in one spot. So when you're at 11 o'clock at night trying to put your lessons together for on the weekend for the next week coming up, it's really nice to go through this resource bank, this library full of tools and resources to augment the curriculum that you want to teach that week. So it's really teachers helping teachers within our district. And it could save a lot of money, not only on the side of not purchasing licenses, but also in some cases, we could not go toward a curriculum adoption should the content be equivalent, if not better, made by our own teachers.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions?
Yes, I have one. The $61,000 for Canvas, is that per year or is it a one-time purchase?
It's about 53,000-ish. I think it was like 53.4 based on it, like in your enrollment and your teacher users. I gave him a higher number on teacher users, so it's probably going to be a little bit less, but I just wanted to make sure I was covering, because it was just a rough estimate as we were talking. But the extra $7,000 is for that initial year of training. So we would probably look over the next year how much of that training we needed to do, if any, for usage. But you would always get the 24/7, 24-hour, 7-day-a-week customer service. That's ingrained in that. So it's really more about a $53,000 yearly cost.
When we say purchase licenses, these are the annual costs, right? We are really subscribing as opposed to actually purchasing software and the code, the algorithm.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's it.
Great. Any other comments or questions? Don, are you raising your hand?
Yeah, I was trying to unmute it, sorry.
Right.
I just wanted to speak to the urgency of this. I'm very concerned about the class of 2021, 2022, as they're building their portfolios, their resumes to colleges, and our teachers don't have the tools they need right now to be able to prepare them adequately. To me, there's a big urge with this right away, and I understand it'll be on the agenda for the next meeting, and I hope so, because I think we really owe it to those, especially to those kids, to act on this and make sure that they are getting the education they deserve so they can be successful in life. This whole situation is not fair to them, and I want to make sure we take care of them.
Anybody else, comments, questions?
I agree with Donna.
Well, I actually would like to make a few comments myself. And in an effort to put things in simple terms, sometimes I say things that maybe come out with the wrong meaning. But prior to last week, other than having the 30,000 foot level understanding of what an LMS was, that was it. That's where it stopped. And that's what I was looking for, was a lot of the detail we saw tonight. But I also wanted to make sure that, and as the term I used was that we were vetting everything properly, just as we do when we do the textbook adoptions and a lot of other things. And I feel much better that that's happening now. I understand the urgency, believe me, I really do. But I would rather spend a little bit of time up front really evaluating and looking at everything, making sure we're making the right decision. Because and maybe it's just me, but as a school board member, that I also carry the title of trustee, and I have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the district is investing in things that are appropriate and bring back the return, whether it's not monetary return, but return in terms of benefit to the kids. And I feel a lot better about that. I'll just say that. So I'm trying to look at some of my notes real quick. Thank you very much for taking this time to do the presentation tonight. I'll look forward to learning a little bit more, and I know we'll be coming up for a decision on the 27th. And if in another week or so we feel like we've got a pretty solid plan to go forward, I'm willing to have a special meeting even. But I had, maybe I'm the only one, but I had to feel much more comfortable about it than I did last week, and I'm feeling better right now.
Matt, I would agree. I think we needed more information, and we got some really good information today, because I think we left all feeling like it wasn't enough. So your concerns were definitely valid.
Thank you. And I apologize if I ever said anything to make people feel like I was criticizing them. That's not my intent. Again, I'm a simple guy, layman's terms, and sometimes layman's terms come out wrong. So I apologize if that happened.
No, fine. I just want to say that that's what's most difficult about this time right now, because we will spend days and days on something only to crumple up the paper and throw it away. And it's hard. And so I think for me, maybe what's so difficult is that I know you guys need answers. Our parents want answers. They're asking every day. I want to be able to give people answers. And every time we go looking for answers, we're just getting more and more questions. And it's just a really difficult time period. So I'm excited to bring a committee together, because I think, together we are TCUSD, we can do this. And we just need more people to weigh in on it and to share their expertise.
Great, thank you. Okay, any more comments or questions there, or else we'll move on. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the discussion action portion of our agenda. Just one item here, and it has to do with approving the supplementary retirement plan for an extended period to see if there are other takers. And this would be the retirement incentive. So Marianne, are you going to lead this for us?
Yep, she is.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone. On April 22nd, the Board of Education approved a supplemental retirement plan with the following parameters. For certificated staff, they had to be 55 years old, pardon me, with a minimum of 10 years of service with Temple City Unified. And for classified, 50 years old, 10 years of service, and at least a 0.5 FTE. There were 62 eligible certificated staff members, and 22 took the first opportunity. There were 76 eligible classified, and 5 took the opportunity. The most recent information we have from the state is that there will be a 10% reduction in LCFF for next school year 2021. That is approximately $11,965,000 for TCUSD. That dollar amount does not include reductions expected from the federal government, as those are not published yet. In light of this situation, staff is reviewing all programs, contracts, and staffing. Staff is recommending tonight an extension of the supplemental retirement plan to allow staff who to have another opportunity to participate. Several staff have reached out and expressed an interest in participating. As staff retire, enrollment and master schedules are carefully analyzed to determine which positions need to be filled. Thank you.
All right, are there any comments or questions for Marianne? And I'm sorry, how long are we looking at extending it? Just a couple more weeks?
So this would have a final turn-in date of May 29 at 4 p.m.
All right. Are we ready to go ahead and take a vote? I need to take a motion in a second.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Member Espinoza, a second from Member Lynn, and this is going to obviously be a roll call vote. Member Espinoza,
Yes.
Member Lynn,
Yes.
Member Georgino,
Yes.
Member Nolenberg's not with us, and I am a yes as well. So the motion carries 4-0. And I apologize, Samuel, did you want to cast a?
I would like to vote yes.
Okay, so we have our student member also voting aye. So the motion carries 4-0. With that, we are on to board requests or comments. Do we have any further comments from the board or requests for anything?
I just want to make one comment. I'm glad we were able to do this for the employees, to give them another shot at it. And I sure hope that we can do something to recognize all these people, because we're losing some really great employees that have done so much for this district. And so I hope we'll be able to do something to recognize them.
I agree. I'm sure we all do.
Yes.
Okay, any future agenda items anybody wants to bring up? No? So with that, I will go ahead and call for a motion and a second to adjourn, please.
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Motion by Member Lynn and second by
I'll second.
Member Georgino. Again, a roll call vote. Member Georgino,
Yes.
Member, oops. Member Lynn,
Yes.
Member Espinoza.
Yes.
I am a yes as well. Member Nolenberg's not here, and Samuel, again, do you want to make a vote here?
Yes.
And our student member is a yes as well. So with that, we are in vote of 4-0 to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for your time, and thank you very much for the presentation. Have a good evening.
Thank you.